No one noticed the exact moment Emma stopped smiling. Maybe it was the third time her parents laughed off one of Lily's snide comments, or maybe it was the day she stayed 3 hours after close to scrub grease off the cafe's kitchen floor, only for her mother to say, "Well, Lily needs her rest for her art showcase, dear." It might have been the moment a customer said, "Your sister's cocktail menu is genius," and Emma felt something in her chest break, softly, like a twig in a quiet forest, quietly enough that no one noticed. Again, Emma had always been the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who never needed to be asked twice. She learned early that if she kept things tidy, her parents wouldn't scold her. If she worked hard in school, no one would ask why she never brought friends over. And if she smiled and nodded, they wouldn't call her difficult. From the outside, Robert and Linda's cafe looked like the picture of a loving family business. Cozy lights, handwritten menu boards, cheerful smiles. But behind the espresso machine, Emma was biting her tongue so hard it bled. It had all started with the menu. Emma had worked for months researching mixology, taking online classes, even experimenting late into the night while Lily was out partying or sleeping in. She poured her heart into designing a signature cocktail lineup for the cafe's struggling evening service. She even created a hand-drawn menu that matched their rustic aesthetic. She presented it to her parents and their head chef during one of their rare family meetings, heart racing, notes in hand. They praised it. They actually praised it. And then a week later, the laminated menus arrived, with Lily's name and face printed on the back, introducing Lily's signature sips, creativity in every glass. Emma froze in the hallway of the cafe that day, staring at the words. No mention of her, no note, no credit, not even a casual acknowledgement. When she asked her mother what had happened, Linda waved her hand dismissively. "Sweetheart, Lily's the face of the cafe. You know that. You're the brains. We all have our roles." Emma wanted to scream. Instead, she swallowed it down with the same bitter grace she had mastered since childhood. But it didn't stop there. Nothing ever stopped where Lily was concerned. At a family dinner weeks later, Emma nervously announced that she'd finally earned a promotion at her co-working space. Her team had backed her design initiative, and she was now creative lead on 2 brand projects. She was proud, tentative, yes, but proud. Her father didn't even lift his head. "That's nice," he muttered, eyes still on his phone. But Lily just got that art residency in Portland. Real talent shines through, huh? Her uncle clapped Lily on the back. "You're gonna make it big, kiddo." Emma sat silently, a smile frozen on her lips, while her stomach knotted. She watched as the attention shifted fully, like a sunbeam following Lily's every move. "Maybe you'll meet a nice gallery owner out there," Linda said brightly. Unlike Emma, who's still playing around in rented desks, Emma's fork clattered against her plate. She said nothing. She knew the script: defend herself, and she'd be dramatic; push back, and she'd be jealous; stay quiet, and she was just too sensitive. And so, Emma stayed silent, but inside her resentment began to ferment, rich and sharp. Lily's downfall came, as these things often do, with drama and glitter. The residency turned out to be unpaid, and when the gallery partnership didn't pan out, she returned home with 3 maxed-out credit cards, an unfinished canvas series, and a boyfriend who vanished somewhere around Denver. Linda cried. Robert raged. "You have to help her," he told Emma over the phone. "No hello, no how are you, just an order. You're stable, she's an artist. We can't let her sink. She made her choices," Emma replied carefully. "She's your sister." "I opened my own studio 6 months ago," Emma said. "I'm barely afloat myself." "Then it's time you stepped up," Linda said. "If you care about family." There it was again. Family as a weapon. The final straw came not in the form of a shouting match, but an ultimatum typed in a text: "Help Lily pay off her debt, or don't bother calling again." That night, Emma packed a small overnight bag, walked to her parents' place, and without a word, dropped her house key onto the kitchen table. Linda stared at her like she was a stranger. Lily wasn't even home. Robert didn't get up from his recliner. "If you ever want to speak to me again," Emma said calmly, "it'll start with an apology, and it'll end with you respecting my boundaries. Otherwise, we're done." She walked out, shoulders trembling, and felt the cold wind bite at her skin like freedom. A year later, Chicago had become more than just a city. It had become her sanctuary. Her studio was thriving. Her clients respected her. She had a circle of friends who listened when she spoke, who toasted her wins, who knew the real her, not the background character in someone else's show. So when her parents finally called, voices heavy with age and regret, Emma didn't flinch. She listened. "We didn't realize how much we hurt you," Linda said. We see it now." Robert sounded less certain. "We miss you. It's not the same." Emma didn't rush. She paused. Then she set her terms. "No more comparisons," she said. "No more demands. No more pretending that Lily's the sun and I'm a shadow." "And if Lily needs saving again?" Robert asked, like it was a trap. "She can save herself." Silence. Then, "Okay." Emma didn't believe them right away, but she agreed to meet. A cafe. Neutral ground. No family photos on the walls. No ghosts. She walked in, confident, heels tapping against the tile floor. Her parents were already seated, older than she remembered. She sat down. "Emma," Linda began, voice shaky. "We're sorry." The words didn't fix everything, but they were a start. Emma nodded once, slowly. "Let's talk." And just like that, the woman they had once overlooked, underestimated, and used had returned. Not as their obedient daughter, but as herself. Emma hadn't expected her phone to ring again. Not so soon. Not from them. It had been 5 months since she laid down her conditions. Apology. Respect. No more being guilted into playing the fixer. When her parents finally reached out, she allowed space for conversation. She wanted healing, not erasure. But healing, as she was learning, didn't mean returning to old habits. The second call came from Lily. "I'm in a bind," her sister began, voice sugary with practiced helplessness. "And I'm really trying, Em, but I need help." Emma stared at the ceiling of her Chicago apartment, where sunlight streaked across crown molding she had once dreamed of having. It was a bright place, filled with her art, not their shadows. "What kind of help?" she asked warily. "A few payments behind, rent, supplies, phone. Don't freak out. I had to quit the gallery gig." "It was toxic," Lily said, the word toxic drawn out like a fashionable shrug. Emma had to bite her tongue. Her sister always had a word for everything, always someone else to blame. "Lily, I can send a little," Emma said finally, "but only if we agree this is short term, and you start looking for something stable, consistent." Of course, obviously, but weeks passed, and nothing changed. Emma saw it all unfold in quiet patterns. Lily's texts got vague, timelines for job interviews slipped into next week, and Venmo requests started arriving with the note, "Just until I'm back on my feet, 3. No receipts, no updates, just the same tired spiral masked as a phase. Then one evening, after wiring yet another $300 to cover Lily's studio rent, Emma received a selfie on Instagram. Lily at a beachside bar, cocktail in hand. The caption read, "Self-care isn't selfish." Emma didn't even feel anger, just cold, numbing disappointment. She didn't respond to the next payment request. When Lily called, Emma didn't pick up. That night, she sat in her apartment and said it aloud for the first time. "I'm not responsible for saving her." And just like that, something inside her shifted. But Lily wasn't the only echo from the past trying to crawl back in. Their parents had started calling more often, always with that carefully cheerful tone, as if proximity could substitute for accountability. "Just checking in," Linda would say. "We were thinking, maybe you could help us redesign the cafe's website. It would mean so much to your father." Emma paused. "I'm booked this quarter, and I'm running a business. You'd have to go through my agency now, like any client." "Oh," her mother said, clearly caught off guard. "We thought you might just do it." No, it wasn't said cruelly. It wasn't shouted. but the quiet firmness in her voice made her mother flinch. Then came Robert. "Listen," he said, gruff and heavy. "We were trying to make things right. We apologized. But you can't just shut us out of the family business. You're still our daughter." Emma's pulse stayed steady. "And I'm not your employee. If you want my work, you go through the right channels. That's what respect looks like." There was silence on the other end. She didn't fill it. Let them sit with it. The next week, they didn't call, and it felt like peace. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Emma's world was blooming. A national design firm had noticed her work on a local tech startup's branding and reached out for a partnership, a potential campaign for a sustainability initiative. 6 figures, international exposure, her name on something real. She had walked into that meeting in heels that clicked like thunder and walked out with a proposal in her inbox. She couldn't stop smiling. Not the polite practice smile of her childhood, but something wider, warmer, earned. The next few weeks flew by. Creative meetings, contracts, brainstorming sessions over coffee and laughter with her team. She wasn't the girl who'd been hidden behind the espresso machine anymore. She was Emma Caldwell, founder, lead designer, rising star. It didn't erase the pain, but it made room for something else. Pride. Lily texted again. "Saw your name in that branding article. Congrats, I guess. I still don't know why you're ghosting me, but whatever. Must be nice to pretend you're better than everyone now." Emma sat with it for a moment. She didn't answer. Not this time. Not anymore. On a chilly April morning, Emma walked by the lake with her mentor, Jamal, a sharp-eyed creative who had once told her, "Never shrink to fit someone else's box. Break it, burn it." She told him everything about Lily, her parents, the guilt. "You know what I see?" he said, sipping his coffee. "You're the one who changed the rules, and no one likes when the one they used to control says no." She nodded. "They think growth means betrayal. But what you're doing, this life you're building, that's not betrayal. That's liberation." Emma exhaled, long and full. The wind off the lake was bracing, but she felt steady. Later that week, her father called. He didn't mention the website, or the money, or Lily. He said, "I heard about the campaign. Your mother and I saw the article. We were surprised." Emma waited. "I just wanted to say, maybe we didn't know what we had." It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it wasn't a command either. "Thank you," she said. And then, because she had to, she added, "But knowing what you have means treating it right while you still have it." That night, she stood on her balcony with a glass of wine, looking out over the glowing skyline of the city that had become her home. She thought of the years she had spent dimming herself to make others comfortable, of the times she had stayed quiet to keep the peace, of all the ways she had tried to earn love that came with conditions. Now, the love she surrounded herself with had no string. Friends who rooted for her, clients who respected her, mentors who saw her clearly, and herself, finally, herself. There were still fractures. Lily was still spinning. Her parents were still trying to balance between guilt and habit, but Emma was no longer the glue. She was no longer the fixer. She was the woman who had walked away and built something beautiful in the space where the pain had been. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living, and for the first time in her life, Emma didn't need anyone's permission. Emma hadn't heard Lily's voice in over a month. She still received the occasional passive-aggressive text, fragments of guilt dressed up as humor. "Must be nice to be the golden child now. If I had your bank account, maybe I wouldn't be in this mess." But lately the messages had slowed. Silence, Emma learned, could be louder than shouting. Then came the voicemail. "Em, I don't know if you care. Probably not, but I'm being evicted. I don't know where I'm going. I didn't think it would all fall apart like this. But it did." Emma listened twice. She wasn't sure what struck her more, Lily's voice breaking at the end, or the unmistakable lack of apology. Later that day, her mother called. "She needs help, Emma. You know how she is. She doesn't mean it. She's just lost." "So was I," Emma replied. "And no one saved me." Linda sighed. You're not being fair." Emma looked out the window of her studio, where 2 interns she had recently hired were laughing over a branding brief. They respected her, listened to her, called her boss. "No," Emma said. "I'm finally being fair. To myself." She ended the call before her mother could weaponize the silence. Professionally, Emma was thriving. The sustainability campaign had taken off, and media outlets had begun to spotlight her agency's work. She was asked to speak at a creative leadership panel in New York. She walked onto that stage in a crimson blazer and spoke about building from pain, about reclaiming space in rooms you were once kept out of. Afterward, a young designer approached her with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "You said exactly what I needed to hear." Emma smiled, not the polite, tight smile of survival, but something open, real. She wasn't just designing brands anymore. She was becoming one, a name, a presence, a voice. But peace, Emma had learned, wasn't a permanent state. It was a choice, one that needed constant reinforcement. That choice was tested when Lily showed up in Chicago. No warning, no call, just a knock at the studio's glass door one rainy Tuesday afternoon. She looked thin, drawn, wet from the rain, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. Emma's assistant peeked in. "There's someone here for you. Says she's your sister." Emma walked to the door slowly, pulse tightening with each step. She hadn't seen Lily in person in nearly a year. Lily gave a half smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You look successful." Emma didn't return it. "What do you want?" "I didn't know where else to go," Lily said. "I'm not asking for money, just a place to breathe, a few days. I'm not well." The words twisted something in Emma. She didn't hate her sister, but she didn't trust her either. Not anymore. "I'll put you in a hotel for 2 nights, Emma said quietly. "Then you need to figure it out." Lily's jaw tensed. "So that's it? After everything?" Emma nodded. "Yes, that's it." And even though it hurt, she meant it. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, wrestling with questions she'd learned never had answers. Could Lily change? Had she ever really tried? Was there redemption for people who didn't think they needed to be redeemed? But Emma also thought of the interns in her office, of the designer she'd met in New York, of the woman she'd become by not rescuing people who never learned to swim. There was strength in mercy, but also strength in limits. The next day, her team celebrated landing a major contract with a new tech client. Someone popped a bottle of champagne in the office. Laughter echoed off the walls. Emma stood at the edge of the room, watching and smiling. This was hers, not inherited, not handed down, built brick by brick, boundary by boundary. And she was just getting started. The last time Emma stood outside her parents' house, she had dropped the key on their table and walked away without looking back. Now, a year and a half later, she stood at the edge of the same driveway. The house looked smaller than she remembered, the bushes less trimmed, the porch light still flickering, familiar but faded. She wasn't there to move back, not even close. She was here to close the door properly, on her own terms. Robert and Linda had invited her to a family dinner. No agenda, they promised. Just food, a conversation, a quiet attempt at reconnection. Emma hadn't answered at first. She debated whether it was worth it, whether anything new could possibly be said. But then she realized this wasn't about them. It was about her. She wasn't the girl aching for their praise anymore. She had built a life so rich and grounded that even a moment in that house couldn't shake her center. And so she went. Not to be forgiven, not to forgive, just to stand tall where she used to fold. Linda opened the door. "Oh, Emma," she breathed, as if surprised she'd really come. Emma smiled politely. "Hi, Mom." They sat down at the old dining table. Lily wasn't there. Neither of them brought her up, and Emma didn't ask. Robert cleared his throat. "We saw your interview in the Tribune, the feature on your agency. It was impressive." Emma nodded. "Thanks. We're proud," Linda added. "Even if we didn't say it before." Emma took a sip of her water. "You didn't." Silence stretched between them. But this time, Emma didn't rush to fill it. She had no more apologies to make for making them uncomfortable. "We made a lot of mistakes," Robert said at last. "With you, with the way we handled Lily. I think we thought you'd always be fine. You were so capable, even as a kid." "That didn't mean I didn't need support," Emma said. "You didn't get to ignore me because I made fewer messes." "We know," Linda said quietly. Emma looked around the room. So many ghosts, so many dinners where her voice had been talked over, her dreams reduced to practical jokes, her pain labeled drama, and yet she didn't feel anger. She didn't even feel grief, just distance, like she was visiting someone else's story. "I'm not here to relive the past," she said, "and I'm not here to reopen wounds. I'm just here to say this. I'm happy, genuinely. I don't need anything from you. Not help, not forgiveness, not even understanding." Her mother blinked. "Then, why did you come? To show you I'm okay. That your version of me, the quiet, grateful daughter who never says no, she's gone, and I'm not coming back." It wasn't said with bitterness, just certainty. They nodded slowly. It was hard to tell whether they understood or simply accepted they had no say anymore. Either way, Emma had never felt more free. Back in Chicago, the city was blooming with early summer. Her agency had grown to a staff of 10. She was mentoring a group of young women through a local accelerator program. She was hosting her first panel next month, not just speaking, but moderating. People asked for her opinion now. They listened. And more importantly, she listened to herself. There were still moments, quiet ones, when the past whispered to her, when Lily's silence stung more than any insult, when she remembered birthdays ignored or milestones overshadowed. But those moments didn't define her anymore. She had learned to let go of the need to be understood by those who never tried. One evening, while walking home from a client dinner, Emma paused at a bookstore window. In the glass, she saw her reflection, poised, calm, smiling slightly. She barely recognized the girl she used to be, the one who bent backwards for everyone but herself. Now, her shoulders were squared, her spine straight, her heart unburdened. This was the version of her life she had designed, intentionally, unapologetically. She had love in her life, not the conditional kind, but the kind built through boundaries, honesty, and mutual respect. Friends who knew her story and didn't flinch, colleagues who saw her worth, a world that for the first time made space for her without asking her to shrink. Emma didn't need permission to exist anymore. She had taken it, and with every step forward she shed the weight of who she was told to be and became the woman she always was underneath. Not perfect, but whole. Not silent, but strong. Not a daughter in someone else's story, but the author of her own. The light turned green. She crossed the street, smiling, and never looked back.